As we continue this week reading the prophets, I think there's one thing that's becoming very, very clear. Carrying the mantle of prophet in ancient Israel was a very, very difficult role to fill. God never seemed to hesitate to put his prophets in uncomfortable, even humiliating circumstances, as he needed living examples of the messages he was attempting to convey to his people. And that is certainly true of the book of Hosea. Now, the Bible tells us that Hosea is the son of Be'eri, who was a prince in the tribe of Reuben. And Jewish tradition tells us that Be'eri himself was a prophet. So we can know that Hosea grew up in a family of means. He was the son of a prince and a family dedicated to God. He was the son of a prophet. And as we continue to read, we learn more about the man Hosea. He was a passionate man. He was a man to whom righteousness, goodness, faithfulness, fidelity were critically important characteristics. And he was a man who passionately wanted the people of Israel, of the northern kingdom to whom his prophecies are directed, to turn from their pagan idol worship and turn back to the God who loved them. And he was a man who loved that God himself so much that when he got the morally questionable instruction to marry a prostitute, he obeyed. Now, here, Jewish tradition says it wasn't quite that simple. And there's a lovely traditional story that they tell that begins with God coming to Hosea and asking him to intercede for the people of Israel, to cry out for mercy on behalf of his beloved because she's being unfaithful. But Hosea is fed up with God's beloved. He's frustrated and angry with the people of Israel because of their refusal to turn back to the Lord. So he refuses, and he challenges God to send Israel away and choose someone else in her place. But the story goes, eventually he capitulated. He married a prostitute named Gomer. They had children, and he came to love his family very, very much. Now here, this traditional story gets very interesting, because the story says that at this point, God came back to Hosea and asked Hosea to send Gomer and the children away because of her unfaithfulness. And Hosea again refuses, this time because he has come to love his family so much. He falls on his face before God and cries out for mercy. Now, here tradition says, God spoke gently to Hosea. I think it's interesting, Hosea, he says, that when I ask you to send your wife away because of her unfaithfulness, you cry out to me for mercy. But when I asked you to cry out to me for mercy on behalf of my beloved because of her unfaithfulness, you told me to send her away. It's a lovely story, packed with meaning. But of course, we don't find all of those details in the biblical narrative. It's clear in the text, however, that God intended this relationship to be a living example of his covenant relationship with the people of Israel. God is demonstrating his love, his faithfulness, his devotion to Israel through representing himself as a faithful husband married to an adulterous wife. And as we continue reading the book, his words get very, very, very dark. Terrible indictments of the people of Israel. Terrifying words of anger from the God of Israel. Passion, pain. But Judaism teaches that Hosea is second only to Moses, the most important prophet of all, in his words having impact on the people of Israel, of his day and ensuing generations as well. And praise God, the story has an incredible, wonderful, beautiful ending of the forgiveness of a faithful husband and the redemption and restoration of an unfaithful wife. Let's read in chapter 14. I will heal their backsliding. I will love them freely. For my anger has turned away. I will be like the dew to Israel. He shall grow like the lily and lengthen his roots like Lebanon. His branches shall spread. His beauty shall be like an olive tree, and his fragrance like Lebanon. Those who dwell under his shadow shall return. They shall be revived like grain and grow like a vine. Their scent shall be like the wine of Lebanon. And Ephraim, that's the northern kingdom, shall say, what have I any more to do with idols? Because I have heard and observed him.